Welcome to the Duval Dive. I am your host, Travis D. Holmes with BigCatCountry.com. Kyle, the student of the game, Nash, he's somewhere in the Caribbean, thunderclapping or something. He is on a cruise having a blast. So I would love to welcome you guys to our new episode with our new temporary co-host, we'll call it, Jordan Delugo, GenJag. Welcome back to the show, bro. Thank you for coming back on so quickly, man.
Hey, big shoes to fill, but hopefully I'm up for the task.
Big 16 size 16 shoes to fill. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's what it is. Like you guys already know. I mean, you've already saw the recap that we had from the Jaguars OTA practices. Brandon to Jordan out on the field talking about everything that was going on. We had some real interesting conversations. So I thought, you know what? Hey man, come back onto the pod. Let's have a long form conversation, not these 10-minute, 20-minute sessions that we have on the side of the field. He was like, yeah, let's do it. So I like, all right, cool. Well,
I love talking ball with you. So
yeah, man, it's always a fun time, bro. Like it truly is. And we had, they're out there without pads on. They're out there in shorts and helmets and everything else. So almost all of what we're talking about is the DB room, the wide receiver room, all those guys. And that makes this conversation a real easy one, just to talking about the fact that the streets are saying the Jacksonville Jaguars may have a new number one wide receiver. So I thought, hey man, let's have JDL on and let's talk about this wide receiver room. Let's just get your thoughts on the record. So I think that they probably have one of the deepest wide receiver rooms in football. The fantasy football community, they've had some interesting questions this summer as far as like the fantasy drafts coming up and everything else. So they got questions about who's going to be number one. You got BTJ. He looked like he was going to be a future superstar. We don't know where that's going to be right now. Parker Washington emerged, the end of last season, being one of the more productive wide receivers. And Travis Hunter, he's a whole nother area of just question and intrigue and what that's going to end up being. And I'm just starting this bad boy talking about just evaluating the room, evaluating the roles, kind of giving our pecking order on where everything is going to land as far as the snap share is concerned. And I feel like we should probably start the conversation at the guy that I think has the most intrigue, BTJ. I just wanted to know your thoughts on his ability, maybe even capacity, as far as his ability to bounce back as being that elite receiver that we saw in 2024. What's your just overall thoughts on him heading into the season?
Yeah, did you get to watch the interview that he had the other day after practice?
Yeah. With a few of the people in the media, I believe. But
I know. Like first, I don't remember. I don't want to misspeak and say who, but I know the Jaguars posted it themselves on YouTube. So I came away from that feeling like this was a player and a person who really is starting to really get it. Like he said, he had a refreshed mindset, changed his mindset, focusing on the small details that he didn't focus on last year, focus on getting better every day, not worried about the bounce back or whatever you want to call it. It just sounded like he reached and he is reaching and growing into a new level of maturity. Okay. And I think that combined with his actual talent, that could be special. I mean, I know a lot of people have kind of felt like, he's now the third fiddle or maybe even fourth fiddle in that Jags wide receiver room. But it would not surprise me if, he has a massive season. Ooh, and I'm not saying, he's out there 90% of the time and leading the Jaguars in snap share, which we're going to talk about that, obviously. We got that on deck. But I really do think just from an efficiency and explosiveness standpoint, he could be one of the most dangerous receivers in football this year.
I actually don't disagree with you. And I actually do also agree with you as far as like hearing him talk about like not really listening to the outside noise. Jimmy Smith even retweeted talking about his stance as far as looking at the highlights and everything else.
Jimmy was a little highly critical last year.
Yeah, that's fair. So talking about his stance being a little bit lower, you're talking about the fact like I still have my criticisms. We talked about it on the field. Like there was still a few catches in the intermediate range where he bobbled the ball that I'm just like, I'm a catch is a catch. That's fine by me, but I am going to write that down too, because when pads come on, that bobbled catch, you get bumped, that turns into an incompletion. It's just something that's just a check mark, a little check mark in my brain. That's how I work. But
Yep.
overall, I do agree with you that you haven't seen what you saw in camp last year. You're not seeing the frustration punching walls. You're not seeing the obvious, like just not being on the right. I guess we'll call it system cycle, whatever you want to call it. He's not
Yeah.
disregulated from that.
Yeah.
He seems to have a right mindset, at least heading into this, and
And he's getting open deep.
that's the big one.
He hasn't had to go against Travis Hunter, right?
Yeah,
But he's getting
yeah.
open deep.
That-
And that's something that was missing.
It was something that was missing, but it wasn't always him. And I also want to say that, like,
Absolutely.
Trevor is actually hitting him in stride more often than not deep, and I think that that's a big piece of that equation, because that was my issue even last year when they were having the Bahamas videos. And like we were talking about on the podcast, literally, I had never broken down practice video a day in my life. We were breaking down Bahama practice videos and saying, nah, man, that pass is short, this ball's not, and then it kind of moved over into the season, and they just never got it together on those deep balls. That's where I am now. Like, oh no, they actually are getting it more together than they were then. So that could be positive. And I do think even from the fantasy perspective, because again, we're having two different conversations, a real football conversation and then a fantasy football conversation. And they are different for various reasons.
Don't tell Liam Coen.
Liam ain't hearing none of that. No, but like he is truly one of the best buy low candidates on this Jaguars roster. Like just looking at it from simply an investment perspective, like he probably just won't have as bad as a year that he had last year moving forward next year. So, and his stock is taking a real big hit from that rookie year high. So like even after saying all that, I mean, that dude had issues catching the ball cleanly, playing through contact inconsistency, missing 3 games, like due to injury, and all that resulted in a combination of factors that probably made that the worst season possible, bro. Like,
and I think we knew he was playing through injury and he was dealing with injury, maybe not necessarily understanding how much it was slowing him down.
Maybe
he literally was like, well, it doesn't hurt to run right now, so that's good. It's like, dang. I mean, if it was legitimately that debilitating for him to be out there, it kind of looked like that, did it not?
I
that didn't look like the same player.
I don't want to lie and over exaggerate what it was versus what it is, and I also don't want to because again, I'm not a doctor and I'm not in someone's head. I'm never going to say it was injury. And I'm also going to say it wasn't, because again, I'm not him. So I don't have that ability and I won't pretend to. I just will say he does look better out. And that's kind of where my evaluation can pretty much stop. Because if someone told me next year that, oh yeah, man, I had an injury. Hey man, I'm judging you what's on the film. That's all I can do. That's literally where my evaluation can stop, because I'm just not that good of a person to be inside your brain. So
well, you're also sense. I mean, you're playing. If you're out there, go play. Right?
That's where I stop. Yeah. Like, unfortunately,
I feel you. And I agree with you to an extent, but I think you could also say if he was really feeling it, like in terms of the injuries every single time he was running,
sure,
maybe he does have just like another level just with being healthy. Because look, Trayvon Walker was out there playing injured last year, and you saw him not play as effectively as a pass rusher when he was injured.
Fair.
Same thing with Eric Armstead with his hand.
So fair. These injuries do matter with these guys. Yeah, you're not wrong. And he still had he ended up with all those combination of factors, less than 300 yards from 1,000-yard season with 3 games missed, noticeably injured, leading the lead in drop passes for the first 5 games, I believe it was.
Yeah, and he played a lot better once he came back from that injury. He wasn't anymore the featured target, however. But he was playing more consistent football. I think his ability to get open was better. He wasn't dropping the ball nearly as much. His yards per catch went up. He was averaging over 15 yards per catch after week 13 when he came back from that injury. And so I think he fit into the offense a little bit more. They were using him a little bit more as that true just boundary wide receiver. And when I say boundary, I'm not just talking about lining up out there. I'm talking about staying out there, like not going over the middle of the field, the vertical plane, right? So I'm excited to see it. And we've
So am
seen
I.
two different Brian Thomas Juniors so far. Right now, what we have seen is somebody that looks a lot better than they did last offseason and throughout the season.
I think that's actually a very fair. I think that's a very fair landing point of what kind of where he is. Like, and just to put everything into perspective, he was basically 150 yard, maybe one big game, and a reasonably healthy 17 game season from being 1,000 yard receiver in his quote unquote down year.
Yeah.
And that's what Liam was talking about after practice. Basically, like if that's a down year, then that's solid. That's a start. That's a solid floor for you to be starting with because you're probably not getting that again in 2026.
And he still
And I
made
kind of think,
some
go
important
ahead.
plays too. Catch down the field against the Chiefs was a really big play in that
Sure.
game. He had the game sealing slant and run against the Texans early on in the season.
I mean, you're not wrong.
He
But
made
this
some
is
plays.
where I'm at. Like I kind of look at this BTJ conversation, like with the emergence of Parker Washington and their specific roles. Thomas mainly at that X, Parker at the Y and Z, depending on however you want to use Jakobi on that individual play. Their style differences on the field, but it feels like the real conversation is really talking about like who are you giving the ball to more frequently or who are you putting on the field more frequently between that Parker Washington and Brian Thomas Jr. because it kind of feels like between their roles, a big day from Parker Washington should be harder to come by than a big day from Brian Thomas Jr. with that vertical explosiveness that he kind of has in that passing game, right? Like he's one play from being gone, and that's not generally Parker's game, right?
Yeah, you're
Like,
right about that. I also just think though, while it's more of like you only need one big play from BTJ,
mm-hmm,
it's just so easy to get Parker the ball in so many different
mm-hmm,
ways, and
mm-hmm.
it feels easier, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the
Because
level of difficulty to
he
get
catches it
that,
more frequently too.
yeah, and in an area of the field that, let's be honest, Trevor Lawrence has been better, as you
Also
mentioned.
true.
Like
Also true.
the last couple years, Trevor's deep ball, like deep down the sideline, hasn't been as good as, you know, firing it over the middle,
Mm-hmm.
firing it intermediate, right? Intermediate, even deep over the middle, like on the, the digs. Parker was money on those. He was
Yeah.
money on a lot of different things last year, but
Yeah.
I think it aligned with what Trevor was doing well too.
So assuming Brian Thomas Jr. I mean holds on to the ball, that's bare minimum. Like that's just the starting point of the
Mm-hmm.
conversation. Like in very many ways, it feels like every throw from Trevor Lawrence kind of has a question mark attached to it. Like just say stapling a question mark on every pass from his hand. Like, and are you leading on production or are you leading on potential? Because Brian Thomas Jr. obviously has the biggest potential in that wide receiver room. I still today, 2026, believe that.
Mm-hmm. I
But
do too.
Parker Washington's
100%.
producing
Yeah.
and consistently producing. Like, do I throw it to the guy who has the most explosive skill set and may even be able to create the biggest separation, or do I throw to the guy who consistently comes down with catches that are normally 50-50 catches? Because that's Parker Washington and Jakobi Meyers, really.
Yeah.
But I may have to force it into slightly, more tight coverage. Like that's the conversation, weirdly.
Which Trevor does not mind throwing it into tight coverage, I don't think.
I mean, that's how the season ended. Yeah, I mean, let's be real about that, bro. Come on,
Jakobi had to make that play, I think.
you're right. It's both of them. Like, yeah.
Jacoby's got to make that play. I mean, Trey White is, he had a hell of a game, but he's not a young man.
He had a heck of an old man game. Everybody got that one in them, bro.
Yes,
and he had it.
Yes, he did. It was incredible. But
yeah. But that's
talking about
landing,
who's getting the ball, earn it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what Liam Coen is going to instill in them. Like, hot hand, who's getting the job done at a higher level. That's who we're going to be targeting more often. And
yeah,
there's obviously going to be, game planning dependent strategies. Like this week, maybe we feel like we can get Parker Washington more. This week, maybe we feel like there ain't nothing you can do to slow BTJ from getting behind you because your DBs just can't do it, or we don't fear your pass rush, right? Different things like that.
Oh man, no, I hear you, bro. Like,
Yeah.
she's before we hit into the second person in this conversation, because again, that was all BTJ, just because that's the most intriguing one. He has the widest range of outcomes, we'll say. Like, I think most of us kind of think that Parker Washington is probably going where he's going to land, and we kind of generally know where all these guys, other than maybe Travis Hunter's, probably going to land. Like, they have a smaller area of where this is going to go as long as they stay healthy. But yeah, BTJ is the one who can truly like blow the top off this offense for the most part. I think that's a reasonable point where I don't think I'm wearing teal shades to say that. Basically, like, I think the whole fantasy football community is kind of hoping for that.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like every fan base analyst who has needed a wide receiver this year has been like, get BTJ to my team, right? That's got to tell you something.
That's fair. Like, they all think they're getting the greatest deal, and the Jaguars are the dumbest people ever. They think think the Jaguars have the GM from draft day, basically. Like, he's just going to give away the farm because, of course, like, they're not. This isn't a movie. They're not giving away this dude on a rookie contract who runs a freaking 4.3 and just put up, what would have been an 1,100-yard season in the 2024 season. Like, if he played every game, and specifically with Matt Jones, if we're being honest about it. Matt Jones was peppering that dude with targets. That was crazy. But I mean,
13 as a rookie, 1,300. Yeah. If he would have played all the games last year, like you mentioned, not even factoring in that he was playing through injury, just if he played in those 3 games and was able to play in those 3 games, it's probably a 1,000-yard season.
Probably. And that's the craziest part about it, because again, this was not a good season. And I know again, we'll get into it later. I want to make sure I don't skip any of these guys' comments, because I know it's they have been busy. But yeah, Fred says it. Travis, I told you that the lone ball is back in Jacksonville. That's fair. Fred the Jig, he told me this before we even made our way out to the practice fields. Like, and that's before they put pads on. That's before they've even started talking about play action and all of that. So it's going to be interesting if they can keep this up, because they still had the interception in practice. The one, the underthrow to Monteric Brown. It was a great interception. He got his head around early, but it was underthrown. Yeah. So they're still not perfect, and I think I said that in my recap. It's not perfect. They have a few things to work on, but it's enough where you felt like the defense won and the offense won, and that's kind of what you want as a team or as a fan of the team.
Yeah, and I got to give Buster Monteric Brown some credit. Everybody talks about the plays that BTJ has made down the field, right? Which most of the time he's made it down the field, like on the 2 practices we've been to so far. But Monteric Brown was able to completely disrupt his basically 9 route in practice the other day on one play where Trevor was like, I'm throwing it no matter what. And completely disrupted it, like pretty much right off the line, and there was no chance of completing it. And so give some credit to Buster Brown there too. And then of course he had the interception as well against Parker Washington.
Yeah, man, it was a solid jam, and it was it ran with him the entire way. And for everybody talking about the fact that Buster doesn't have speed, quote unquote, and all these other things, it's just like, well, he surely just ran with the guy who runs a freaking 4.3.
Yeah,
just get his hands on him. Yeah, exactly. Just get your hands on him, and it's gonna be all right. But overall, like, I think we're pretty much caught up on most of the comments, other than this last page, and I will absolutely get to oh goodness gracious, there's Kyle. I still want my all Jets package, which is what he called all goals, basically your Hail Mary package with all these receivers, because since they all got wheels on them.
989.
Speaking of all nines, speaking of that, like, let's talk about
I can get on board with 989.
989. All right, not just straight goals. All right.
Yeah. We got to get a post in there, right?
Maybe. I don't know, man. But the question of this 2026 season,
how about a Texas route underneath it?
Yeah, it depends on the circumstances, I guess. You got to have some kind of check down. Like, I'm here for it. Give him a little space to work with. But the bigger question, because again, you got BTJ and then you got Travis Hunter. And Travis Hunter feels like a lotto ticket to me. Like, I don't know what to do with that, because the Travis Hunter conversation and the BTJ conversations are not significantly different, just with a little bit of nuance added. Like, one obviously is just their rookie season and they got hurt. But Hunter, he showed his ability to stretch the field and kind of create those explosives in his final game against the Rams. And that's not really in question. It's just the real question is, will he be able to not only pick up where he left off in 2025, but pick up significantly farther in the playbook than where he was last year? Like, is that a fair kind of starting point for where he should be?
Yeah. And it seems like the guy is in, like, he's not practicing really right now. He's catching some passes here and there, but he's in like every single offensive huddle.
Yeah.
I mean, when have you seen that from another player that's injured or recovering from injury? I can't recall that.
I don't recall it. But they also, interestingly enough, they have Jordan Lewis kind of doing the same thing, though. I don't know if you noticed it yesterday.
I didn't see that.
Day before yesterday. Yeah, Jordan Lewis is doing the same thing, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I just wrote it in my notes. I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe he's taking that initiative, like seeing Hunter do it, or maybe that's just something that was communicated. I don't know. I just thought it was curious that they both were kind of doing the same thing, it's like, not wasting those reps.
He gets the play call, he walks off, and then he is over there clearly like mentally going through exactly what he would be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to question that guy's work ethic. I think that really going from Colorado's offense to what the Jaguars were doing, that was like a huge step. And he's smart. He's hardworking. I think he's going to be in a much better spot.
I think that's probably fair. And I also, like, because of his skill set, because I think he's undoubtedly the best Jacksonville Jaguars receiving option, like, from beating man coverage that they have on the roster. Like, BTJ is good at running the go routes. He's good at catching the ball and just going. But I think as far as option routes, it's shown you they can do it, but also having that same BTJ type speed, Travis Hunter's that's his strength. That's his kryptonite. I can't even say kryptonite. That's his superpower. But
crazy hands, crazy ball skills.
Oh, yeah.
He can get the contested catches too. He just didn't have to do it very much last year.
I mean, other than all the highlights, jumping over dudes and everything else.
Yeah, that Chiefs catch was insane.
Yep.
Insane.
Yep. That. So, like, his opportunity area, I guess I'll call it, is improving, lining up in the appropriate spots, all the mental stuff. That's kind of what he's working on right now.
The timing,
running his route, the appropriate. The timing on the out routes. Yeah, being on the same page as far as your quarterback, because they're throwing that ball to trust you before you make your break. Yeah, no, you're right. Right alignment, right assignment, all those opportunities. And he'll be looking to improve those areas without a full offseason of actually running the routes on the grass after coming back from an LCL injury involving surgery, and with less time than a prototypical wide receiver would have, only focusing on one side of the ball. Like, that's the challenge there.
Yeah, I agree. But I think as long as he's out there for training camp, he'll be fine.
Probably. I mean, again, I'm not looking for him to be what he's going to be by week one. I'm looking, if you give him a few weeks, even the first month of the season, then you're probably looking at what you will see towards the end, if that makes any kind of sense.
And I think he's still going to practice more on offense. I don't think he needs to practice much on defense. I really don't. He knows what he's doing out there at corner.
We just talked. We just talked about that the other day. Like, no, I don't think we've seen him practice on defense yet. Just talking about the huddles he's paying attention to, because he doesn't really have to. It's just communication with the secondary on defense. You know the coverages. You know what you're doing generally, but the offense is the thing that's complicated, or most complicated on this team, at least. From everything you hear.
Yeah, and I think Camp's defense is somewhat complex, but I don't think that the outside corner coverages are like the difficult part.
That's it. It's just more about knowing the guys that you're going to be playing with and just making sure you're communicating your checks when you get motions and things of that nature. But for the most part, that's what you're looking at. But like, with all of that added context, like, of who Hunter is and kind of what he's got to overcome this offseason, like, he just feels like a late season lottery pick for me. I can't speak for you. Just from my perspective, like if he can turn it on after Jacksonville's bye week, something like that feels like a great situation for the Jaguars. But with so many mouths to feed and a really muddled, we'll call it pecking order, it just feels like he's the receiver of the future, while like being a tool for the current roster if it works out. But that's why I call it a lottery pick.
Yeah. I again think it's just going to go back to how are these guys practicing? How do they start performing once week 1 hits? And things will, kind of like they'll adjust accordingly. I strongly feel that this coaching staff will adjust accordingly.
I mean, they've shown us nothing else. They've shown us that, but
yeah.
All right, Parker. Oh man, Parker Washington. That's the next one. That's the big one. That's the big conversation. I can't even say it's the biggest one because the other ones are all over the place. He's the breakout guy. And PT Preston says 12 should be BT or Jakobi. I'm assuming that's his order.
Parker is the like the guaranteed one.
I think that's what he's saying. Parker's the guaranteed one. We should have run the ball down the Bills' throat and took the point, says Robert.
For sure.
I think we're in agreement. I think you said the same thing the last time you were on.
Screaming that for 6 months.
Speaking of Parker Washington, PT says Coen put Stingley on Parker Allen and routed him up. That he has, but he did that to a lot of number 1 corners for a lot of teams. Even did the same thing against what was it? PS2 against the Broncos. Yeah. That was
Surtain had a lot of coverage reps against BTJ, but he got him.
Yeah. But this Zenith's interesting point was like you can't keep paying them all, and I'm like, So
they're only paying one receiver right now?
Is he talking about Parker Washington? And that's maybe a question that I have for you is because I was going to ask you that later, anyways. Honestly, is the Jaguars are currently, I believe, 17th right now in positional spending for the wide receiver room, which is smack dab in the middle of the NFL. Do you think that they extend Parker Washington before, let's say, week 5 of the season?
I think they should. But
I ain't asked you if they should. I asked you, do they?
I believe Parker Washington and Brenton Strange will be Jaguars beyond 2026.
Okay, I mean, I guess that's still that's not saying it's an extension, but it's saying they're gonna be here one way or another. Okay,
I think that I
can get down with that.
It's so hard to predict what this regime will do.
Yes,
it is so hard because look, as much as we love these guys, Brenton Strange and Parker Washington, it's not like they don't have other options at those positions potentially. And I talked about this today. I honestly think there's a possibility that they're not writing off extending Brenton Strange or Parker Washington, but that they want to have the ability to just see what happens throughout the rest of this offseason and into training camp before they really make a big decision. Like, how do they feel about Nate Borkature? How do they feel about BTJ? How do they feel about Travis Hunter? Because there's all sorts of options at these positions. Now, I think the one that would shock me the most if they don't get a deal done would be Brenton Strange, because tight end is just not a prohibitive position to pay. It's just not that much money in the grand scheme of things from a cap space situation. Even if he's in the top 5 at the position, which I think he should be, but
neither was running back.
You're right.
They didn't sign Travis Etienne.
But I think they would have signed Travis Etienne if they wanted to sign Travis Etienne.
And you think they want to sign Brenton Strange? At that point, you're just having a money conversation.
I don't think it was because he played running back. I think it was because they didn't like the efficiency when he was back there.
I actually agree with you, though. I ain't gonna lie to you. That was my feeling the entire time, and folks got mad at me. We have certain people on the show who disagree, who thought they should have re-signed him, especially even for that $12 million cost.
Because I thought he was such a well-rounded back for them last year. Yeah. It just so happens that his weakest area was actually running the football.
It's messed up because it's true. Because he's a running back, but he's an athlete in space and all the reasons why a team like the Saints would love to have him.
Yeah.
And CMC is the current iteration of CMC is making a career out of that right now. He's not doing
Much
well
better
running the
runner,
ball, and
though,
his offensive
obviously.
line is also not playing well
Yeah.
right now. But yeah, so overall,
So
it's a weird spot to land in when you say you got a great running back who just can't run the ball well.
yeah,
That's why
but so I think that they will, because I think Liam Coen loves, and he says it. He wants to run a lot of 12 personnel. I
Yeah.
don't think he wants to run a ton of 13. I think he wants to run a lot of 12. So have Strange and Borkature, right now. When it comes to Parker Washington, I think they would like to keep him around. I think they love the guy. He's awesome. I mean, how could you
I
not?
think
The
it is
way he
too.
plays and the way he works. But
Return, receiver, all of it. Yep.
yeah, when you look at the fact that they do have Jakobi Meyers under contract through 2028, they have Brian Thomas Jr. under control through 2028. They have Travis Hunter under control through 2029, if you're including the fifth-year options for BTJ and Travis Hunter. And then they also drafted CJ Williams and Josh Cameron. Like, it is possible that they make the decision they can move on without Parker. Because, like, what is his contract? 20 million? 18 million? 20 million?
I'm thinking 17 to 20, yeah.
I don't think that's prohibitive to bring him back, but could they say that's not the best use of our resources? We want to go pursue X other player at a position that's going to improve our roster more, improve our ability to win games more.
Not wrong, but they're also opening up like $50 million of dead cap next year. Like an insane
Yeah, but
number.
they're still projected 11 million over the cap right now. And obviously
Are they really?
that can change a little bit. Yeah, for 2027. But there's got so many ways to create cap space.
Yeah, manipulate that, of course.
Patrick McCary, Foye Oluokun, which I would hate to see him go, but he would save them like 10 million. Walker Little would save them a ton of money.
Yeah.
You could also have some lesser ones that are like still like in the $4 million range, like Robert Hainsey, Eric Murray,
Chuma Doga, 3 million. Yeah, I mean,
well, that's right now. I mean,
that's right now. Yeah,
this year. Yeah,
that's also fair. But I mean, I still think as it currently stands, he's a swing tackle. So, and that wasn't even this conversation, man. We're gonna be rabbit trailing all night because we talk Jaguars football, man.
Yep.
To the wide receivers, to Mr. Parker Washington, if you don't mind. I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to make sure we stay on topic.
Yeah, you're good.
What?
I was just saying you're good, but yeah, somebody just commented, no reason to write off Parker Washington right now. I'm not writing him off. I think that he should be here. I think he should be a focal part of the offense. I think he was awesome for them. I think he will continue to be awesome. However, I'm just wanting to explore all the different potential thought processes of an organization, of a regime that is very unpredictable.
Right. That's the point. That's why I love having these conversations with with the guys on this pod, because it's like, nah, man, we are not going to say they're going to do this. It's just to ask the questions, or could they do this? Could they be thinking like this? Could they be thinking like that? Because when you assume you know what these guys are going to do, you're nearly always going to be wrong. So let's just kind of just evaluate the landscape and see where it lands. And I'm okay with that. But I mean, yeah, Washington, he broke out the last 9 games of this season, and I'm not 100% sure what to do with that information. I'm going to be honest with you and say that, like, knowing what we know about this offensive scheme, knowing what we know about the strengths and weaknesses of all the players in it, you got some in the NFL landscape. They believe that the Jaguars have a new number 1 receiver, and they think Parker Washington is that guy. And we just haven't seen a full season of production to kind of say that he's going to be the guy. That's the philosophy. That's the theory.
Yeah.
And then you have others who are a little bit more cautious and say it was a case of the right player at the right time. And I wanted to know where you stood there.
I'm in on Parker Washington. So something about Parker for me, I thought he should have been a 3rd round pick. I was heavily in on Parker Washington stock in that draft 2023. He didn't get to do the pre-draft lead up, like with the all-star circuit and the testing and all that stuff. And who knows, he might not have been like somebody that would blow the doors off the 40-yard dash or something. I think he would have looked really good in the all-star circuit. If he went to the Senior Bowl or whatever, he would have ended up going to. But I liked him a lot.
Okay.
And so I've always kind of believed in him. I will say though, earlier in the year when there was injuries at receiver and Jakobi Meyers wasn't there yet and Britton Strange was injured, like the Rams game, I was like, okay, we cannot be targeting Parker Washington 10 times a game because that did not look good. But then he shut me up.
Because his best games at the end of the season were all when he was targeted 10 plus times
Yeah.
in those like
And he did
5
it
games
against
or 4
good
games.
teams. He did it against the Bills and the Broncos. And, I mean, he could have done it against some other teams and had some bigger numbers, but the Jaguars were like, we don't need to put up any more points against the Titans right now.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
yeah,
or the Chargers, right?
He put together 850 yards or nearly that. I think I might be rounding up. Primarily off of his 8 games with 7+ targets. Like, in other words, they were treating him like a number 1 receiver in those games, basically. And that's also a Brian Thomas Jr. conversation. That's kind of what I was saying earlier. It's that back and forth of where are we predicting the conversation to go. And I'm going to use this comment from Adam Kofler with Roto Baller. He's responding to John Shipley. Shout out Jaguars on that side. John Shipley's tweet saying, "We have the next Amon St. Brown, ASB, for the Detroit Lions staring us right in the face, and we don't want to believe it because of something called a quote unquote BTJ." Getting rid of the
way
quote unquote
fantasy
BTJ
people talk is so annoying.
it's wild. It's wild. I ain't gonna lie to you. But the real question, the root question, getting rid of all the snark and everything else, the root question is, does Jacksonville rip the Band-Aid that we kind of saw them tinkering with in 2025 and go all in, treating Parker Washington like Detroit uses ASB? Or is he simply going to be the weapon that they have, like the break glass in case of emergency kind of week by week project? Like, where is that going to land on opportunity?
I think he's going to be heavily targeted consistently. And there might be games where it's, a game plan situation where they just want to get one of the other guys the ball a lot more. But if I had to predict, I think he'll lead the Jaguars in catches.
So he'll lead the Jaguars in catches. Whether or not he leaves them in targets, that won't matter as much. But you think he's going to have more targets than
catches and
Myers
targets
from that? Okay. Jeez. All right. That is a new. I thought it was going to be Jakobi Meyers personally, but you're putting it on Parker Washington already, and I'm like, oh, if it's anything like those last 5 games, though, you might be right though. I can't argue.
He's too good. I mean,
okay.
He's always shown that ability in practice. You have to admit that.
Yes,
and then once he got the opportunity, it took off.
No, but he's been a training camp god for multiple seasons, and it was always a question of, was he going to do it when the lights came on? And that was always the question for me. Was he going to do it when the opportunities kind of popped up? And sometimes he would, sometimes he wouldn't. It was always limited sample sizes, so you couldn't really tell what you were looking at. And then we see this, and again, it's still a small sample size. I'm not ignorant to that fact. I'm just hoping that small sample size turns into a full season where you can say, all right, no, this guy truly is that dude, and it just happens to come in the contract year, which I can even in my brain make the opposite argument. Like, I don't like that either, though, because it's contract year performance. You never love that, but
hey, but if you get a contract year performance and you have a hell of a year, you'll take it and deal with the fallout after that, right?
That's how you get Devin Lloyd and Travis Etienne all over again, man. Do we want that?
I mean, I think that James Gladstone likes comp picks.
Now, I think they're going to be all out on the comp pick conversation next year, though. I think because they're clearing the cap so much to have all this free agent dollars. They got to believe that they're going to be.
But we don't even know that they are. We don't know that they are clearing the cap.
When I say clearing the cap, what I mean is they're getting rid of all this dead cap, and you haven't seen them add any additional dead cap to next year just yet. So far as what we're talking about, so I'm assuming,
they're still $11 million in the red based on the current projections for the 2027 salary cap.
Sure. And I'm just talking clearing the books as far as whatever you have as far as your cap is basically what you did and not what the previous dude did.
Yeah.
That's when I say clearing the cap. That's what I mean. Not necessarily clearing up cap space, but more so clearing your books to start over, to rehab this
Mm-hmm.
business. It's like I'm putting
I
this
know
in
what you're
corporate
saying.
terms, basically.
Yeah.
But no, Adam, as much as folks hate the whole fantasy football and bio conversation, Adam, over at Rotoballer, Adam made a really dang good argument in his 4 fantasy football wide receiver breakouts, players to take over at the wide receiver 1 roles. He used the stats to basically make the argument that Parker Washington was going to be the number 1 wide receiver in Jacksonville in 2026, which sounds like you kind of agree with based on what you just said as far as the targets are concerned.
If that's my best prediction, my best guess, I think it is pretty unpredictable.
I think that's also fair.
Because if BTJ goes out and does BTJ things from 2024, you're feeding that man the ball.
Probably. And right? I don't want to spoil the Rotoballer article, so I will take it off the field. But to your original point, like you were saying, if this dude gets 120 plus targets, and Parker Washington gets 120 plus targets in 2026, we're going to be having the kind of conversation talking about whether he is the next ASB. Like, I don't think that that's crazy, because just taking it, not talking about the film, not talking about the stats, but talking about his film and his strengths and all of that. Parker's strength is his ability to create space at the top of his option routes, his ability to win contested catches, his pure hand strength when he's unable to even get that separation. All those things, that's ASB. Like, those are
and he's good with the ball in his hands, obviously.
All the yak as far as that's concerned. And Coen's already talking about wanting to get the ball more in his hands to be able to use that aspect of his game. Like, I get all of those additional ways that you can kind of make this guy look like a number 1 receiver. I'm just saying, at the end of all of this, you still having that type of guy is going to mean Trevor Lawrence is going to have a higher level of trust in him, because, like you said earlier, they got to earn these reps.
Yeah,
but he's also his game is generally not getting separation. That's way more tight window throws. Is Parker going to get those targets if you have a high performing BTJ in this situation? That's what you were like saying. If you got BTJ performing, then Parker Washington may not get but which one are you giving the ball to? It's only one ball. It's not a bad thing, but from a fantasy football perspective, it's a bad thing.
Right. It absolutely, So it might, from fantasy perspective, it might be like, take whoever is there last.
Oh, yeah. Just get the best value at that point.
Honestly, I don't know. I'm not going to be like trying to reach for any of these guys in my one fantasy draft that I do. I can tell you that much.
I got you. But it's off season, bro. Well, y'all killing me in the comments. But I want to make sure I give y'all anything you guys have to say. I want to make sure we get to it, because having Delugo on, man, we're gonna talk ball all day, and I'm trying my best not to keep this bad boy under maybe an hour. It's funny because I'm behind the curtain. I told Delugo beforehand, man, we're gonna try to cut this thing at 30 minutes. Man, we have 45 minutes right now. Like, that's just not. we talk too much ball, man. It's just so much fun. Timmy Devil says we can pay all of our receivers. We are only paying 1 receiver right now, other than free agents that have left. Sure, you can pay all of these guys. I don't think that's
the only 2 guys you got to worry. Well, the only guy you got to worry about is Parker right now.
Yeah,
you don't got to worry about anybody else.
Cal says Strange is more likely than Parker. I think I agree with that. Scribbles 643 says Strange, I'm confident, gets the deal. Kind of to your earlier point.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much we're all kind of in lockstep on this. Preston says Parker won't sign anything. It's business. How he was used, he can get 20 million plus next offseason. Yeah, you're right. But he also got hurt late in the season, where he hurt his hip and missed 1.5 games. And then they had to babysit him to get him for the next 2 games to get him healthy by the postseason. That could play in your psyche a little bit, as far as, hey, man, I don't want to risk too much. Like, if I can get 17, 18 million, and I'm just talking about getting 20, maybe I might take that right now. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it just depends on his mindset. And nobody really, at least not that I'm aware of, nobody really knows exactly what he's thinking. Like, is he thinking, I'd be happy to get 17 to $20 million this offseason? Or is he thinking, can I be chasing 30 next offseason?
That's the conversation. When you're talking about the price keeps going up, like you get Drake London getting paid. And I'm not saying that Parker Washington is Drake London, but if the cost of the top group goes up, then the group below that obviously goes up a little bit. And
But if you're
as
talking
the
about
salary cap
1,000
keeps going
plus
up.
yards and his efficiency that he's shown, that could be somebody could be like, yeah, that guy can be a featured target in our offense.
Yeah. You're not wrong, bro. Like, and the Jaguars could potentially have multiple of those kinds of guys. Kyle says, before I forget, thanks for filling in, Jordan. Appreciate you, Kyle. Enjoy your thunder clapping on whatever Caribbean island you're on, bro. Yeah, Robert says comp pick game with Parker. To your earlier point, I mean that's what it was, and I said it after they were drafted. CJ Williams, Josh Cameron, they have quote unquote done nothing now, but at the same time, they are both absolutely built in that mold of Parker Washington. Like they have the same strengths as far as contested catches. They have the same strengths as far as being great in the intermediate areas of the field and breaking tackles. Like all of that. I can see what you're aiming for. No different than when we drafted Bayshaw too, and I said, okay, I see what that's the future. Yep. We'll see if it works out, but you can see what they're going for. I don't know if it's going to work, but that's the aim. Yeah, I think the same thing with CJ and Cameron. It's kind of the same kind of philosophy. If it works out, great. But
CJ Williams, he's been good in practice so far. I mean, he's been really good.
He's been solid. I'm not going to over exaggerate it. You say really good. I got a higher bar. I'm being real. Like, and posts always tell me I'm a little like extra. No, I don't care. I'm just gonna be honest about that.
He's been catching it every time he's been thrown to. And he's been getting open.
Solid. He's been solid. Yeah,
he looks like he's got like professional feet, in my opinion.
Yes.
His footwork is strong.
Speaking of professional feet, Robert Lamson says Harrison video looked good. Yeah, Anton Harrison's footwork looking good. Yeah, Anton won't be cheap.
Yeah, I saw somebody say that. That's another factor, man. They got to pay Anton.
More money. Yeah. And that's a whole nother conversation, bro. Like, so
that's going to be the most expensive one.
That is going to be the most expensive one without a doubt. But yeah, so we got a lot of people making a lot of assessments and a lot of assumptions based on something the coach says, something the coach don't say, the person that was signed, person that wasn't signed. And we're in off season where we're just reading into everything that everyone's doing and not doing. And just last week, Coach Coen just last week mentioned his areas where he wanted to get Washington involved, and quote unquote, direct quote, I think activating him a bit, continuing to work on the ball and hand stuff that he may be able to do at a high level because of the way he's built and wired. Screen game, continuing to work on those things, the jet sweeps, getting on the ball in some of those ways, and then the complete route tree out of the slot outside, being able to do those things. I think that's a step that he can take. And folks went crazy on the socials talking about he's the number one guy, all the stuff. Now, Jordan, the fan base ate it up, and I'm just like, am I crazy to say that sounds exactly like Dyami Brown's discourse last season?
That's fair. But Dyami couldn't cut it. They wanted to get Dyami going. He couldn't cut it.
Like I listen to what people say and I listen to what they don't say. And my knee jerk was like, Jesus.
I don't think he was lying about that last year. They wanted.
I don't think he was. I don't think he was either. Dyami was on fire in the freaking offseason. He was.
He just couldn't get it done.
And the lights came on.
Once it was game time.
Yeah, the pads came on and it was like, oh wait, I guess he died or something. I don't know what happened because it just stopped. And so in fairness to Parker, like he's obviously, that was a big difference between him and Dyami is he balled out when the lights came on, Parker Washington. So I just don't know that we're at a point where in this offseason we can say, hey man, there's a new wide receiver one in Jacksonville because the coach made some comments describing what the previous wide receiver three should. Yeah, that's what his role is. Like that just feels like, hey man, y'all bored.
And we've also this is offseason. Not talked about Jakobi Meyers at all. Like follow the money. He's getting paid $20 million a year for a reason.
That's a good point.
It's to catch the ball.
That's a great point. And yeah, Jakobi had a busy in last 2 periods of practice on, whatever day that was, Monday.
Trevor,
like 4 or 5
Trevor feels comfortable throwing him the ball.
Yeah. So from a Parker Washington perspective, My only question is whether he gets the consistent opportunities week to week, or whether you're just talking a guy who's on a weekly fantasy league. Because I hope this is the week he splashes versus the week he gets 2-3 targets. And you're already talking about Jakobi being the guy who Trevor trusts. He's the grown up in the room. He's the floor raiser. He's the quote unquote stabilizer for the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2025. And that's not even my words. That's what they call him. Like, he's the guy who made it all make sense. The cornerstone. I'm talking about the dude like he Jesus. Let me calm down. But you know what I'm saying though. Like, what is your high level view of like Jakobi? Like you already said, follow the money. How you feeling about him?
I think that he will be close to the Jaguars leader in targets and receptions. I just think it's going to be Parker.
You think it's got to be P?
I think it's going to be really close. And I wouldn't be shocked if BT is like behind both of them by a wide margin in targets and receptions, but like has more yards.
Okay. I mean, I think being close is, I think that's a fair, I guess, landing point. It just depends on how you feel about which one's going to get more snaps. And even because I still can see a landing point where Jakobi gets more snaps on the field, but Parker still gets a near level amount of targets. Like, I don't think that's crazy because Jakobi's so much better in blocking and all that dirty work that you just don't see it, or it doesn't count on the stat sheet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think he's more steady. Parker's more explosive and exciting, and you want to get him the ball in more different ways.
Yeah. And I think I've said this on a few previous podcasts, but for those who haven't listened, like, I view Jakobi Meyers in a similar tier to kind of how I view Eric Murray when he was signed. And I know that don't sound great because people don't look at safety as sexy. I'm a former DB. I look at these guys as equals a lot of the time. I was higher when Murray was signed than most media and people in the fan base that I had talked to, because I watched every single game that he played in 2024 and was like, I don't care what PFF says. I'm looking at the tape and that dude looks like he's going to be great. Maybe not great, but he's going to be good as far as not being in this, exposing these guys to busted coverages and all of this other stuff. He's going to get the job done. And I think the same thing about like Jakobi Meyers. Like, he's not the most explosive receiver that's going to break the game open for a 300-yard day, but he's the guy who makes it work over and over and over and over and over again. So he's the guy who's going to always be in the right spot, rarely drop balls, does the small things that we don't see until we watch the tape on replay. But most importantly, he's the guy who allows the team to kind of stay ahead of schedule, remaining on the field, picking up first downs with the kind of philosophy that if you stay on the field long enough, eventually good things are going to happen. You're going to either get a field goal, you're going to get a touchdown, whatever's going to come out of that. Like, he may not be the guy who catches the touchdown, but he's the reason that play happened on the next explosive run or whatever it is, because he keeps you on the field. So that's why I think he's probably going to be one of your top snap earners, because you don't know where you're going to need that dude on the field to make that play that's going to keep this thing going, if that makes any kind of.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think in critical moments where you're talking about third and medium, that's probably your number one target. Yeah.
So I think we probably are in a general agreement that it sounds like we're saying that Jakobi's going to be your leading snap earner. Whether or not he leads in targets, he's going to be the guy at the top of the roster. Are we generally there? Yeah. All right, cool. Because I don't see a real way to take him off the field either.
I think he's your wide receiver one.
He's objectively your wide receiver one. Okay, so then we in agreement. I ain't got to argue about this. Cool. But
I just think they're going to be feeding Parker in so many different ways.
All right. So then that's less of a conversation with him specifically. I'll take Jakobi out of the equation. Now we get to the whole BTJ Parker Washington kind of conversation. You gave your assessment, your generalized assessment. All right. So Delugo's on the bottom. Travis is at the top. I had Jakobi Meyers' projection as far as snaps were concerned at around 80%. You had him at around closer to 70. I had Parker Washington at 70. You put him at around 65. We're in the same shooting range. I'm getting down with that. I put Brian Thomas Jr. at 50%. You put him at 65. So you see him, sounds like you're a little bit. You think he's going to have a much better season. and I put Travis Hunter equally at that same 50% that I had Brian Thomas Jr. at. You put Travis Hunter at 35%, and that kind of feels like a wild card to me. I think we probably sounds like we kind of agree on where these guys are going to perform. It just sounds like we drastically disagree on where Travis Hunter is going to play a role in this wide receiver room. Is that fair?
Yeah. I think it's going to be so week to week. Like, I just think there's going to be games where he doesn't play a ton of wide receiver because they don't need him to.
Yeah.
And they need him to play corner.
I can see it. And again, if BTJ is performing, I think maybe that's where we're landing. It's just coming down to if BTJ is performing and we think he's performing well, then there's no reason to take him off the field, and there's no reason to force Travis Hunter to play receiver when he can just focus on cornerback. But if BTJ is struggling even a little bit, then yeah, you're going to give Travis Hunter some of those snaps, and because he can step in at your X, he can step in at your Y, and maybe even at your Z if you need him to. We've saw that at least for a week or two. The last 2 weeks actually he played in 2025. So that's why I'm like, maybe these guys' snaps might be a little bit lower because Travis Hunter is going to be a little bit higher because he's the only one on the roster who could step in for Brian Thomas Jr. They ain't got nobody else who can play that Z. Let's be real. Sorry, Z X. But yeah.
I mean,
so I'm just like,
it's going to be fascinating. And we have a pretty big difference between Jakobi too, and I guess.
Oh yeah, we do, because it's like 15%.
My rationale behind that was I think he played about 80% of the snaps last year, which obviously I'm 10% off that, so that's a big difference. I think there's going to be
most of those games that he was over 90 though. It was just he had like the one game at the what was it, the Titans game that they took, and he was like at 78, and
so I understand what you're saying, but I also think there's going to be times when they're in 12 personnel.
Yeah.
And Jakobi's not one of the receivers out there.
Oh, you think even in 12 they're going to have him off the field?
Not all the time, but I think there's going to be time. Like, I think if they're in 12 personnel on third down, he'll be on the field. I think there's going to be times maybe when they're in 12 personnel on 1st and 10, 2nd and medium, 2nd and short, where you want to get your guys out there that you think can go make bigger plays like Parker and BTJ or Parker and Travis Hunter.
Also fair. You got a lot more. You may have a lot more man situations or a lot more, at least one high safety situations, and you want to get your fast wide receiver. Like if you think you want to get man, maybe you want Travis Hunter to be out there to be your, combo breaker, your man coverage beater, or maybe you want to just put Brian Thomas Jr. and give him an ISO route down that sideline and see if you can get that one-on-one matchup. Like, you're not wrong. I can see the philosophy there, or at least the idea of what that could be. I just assumed if you're going to have this big, jumbo package with all these tight ends on the field, that you'd want to also have the receiver who's most consistently catching the ball, which there's arguments to be made on both sides of this. Like, I don't know.
I just think they want to get more explosive, right? They've talked about that.
Yeah.
So
like the Rams, like the Seahawks did last year.
Gotta have it plays. Jakobi's out there. But you don't gotta have it on 2nd and medium. You don't gotta have it on.
Ain't every play gotta have it though.
No, I think they're going to be trying to push the envelope more with the explosive plays.
All right. Okay. This has been a really interesting conversation because we're going to get into some more. I'm going to talk to you on Monday anyways, because we're going to catch up on, because there's so many like extra ancillary conversations that's in addition to just talking about the snaps and who's going to be the top earner as far as this wide receiver core is concerned, like who's going to actually have the best statistical season, maybe talking about red zone and touchdown and all of that stuff, and injuries and the isolated roles that these guys have, and so many other conversations. But I told you I was going to try to get you out at 30 minutes, and we are literally at 59. So I'm going to see if we have any additional comments that just had to be kind of gotten, because again, I hate leaving these guys out because again, we've gone on way longer than I wanted it to, but it's a good conversation. So it is what it is. Like Timmy Devil says, in the words of Wig, it ain't our money, pay all of them. Which, come on, I love Wig, but also you can't pay all of them. Like, you ain't trying to just ruin the cap. Like, we're still trying to.
James Gladstone's not going to do that,
right? Like,
let's just be real.
That's not actually like realistic though. Yeah, Robert says looks like Liam is putting an emphasis on working on the deep ball with all the quarterbacks. Also, I thought Liam was doing a good. I thought it was really interesting just watching how much Liam was spending time with the DBs. Again, I'm a DB guy. I pay attention to small things like that. Liam's an offensive coach, and most of last season, almost all what we saw was him working a lot with the offense, camp working with the defense, and they kind of just had that. Liam in the last practice spent a boatload of time just talking to the DBs like Monteric, Jordan Lewis, and it was Monteric, Jordan Lewis, and Jarian Jones, and they were out there talking. Yeah, Jerry, and they were out there talking for like a good 10, 15 minutes at one point in one of the periods, and I was just like, oh, I see you, Coen. All right, go. And he's really playing both sides of it. Like you can see him, maybe even see him maturing as a coach. And that's a small thing, but you watch it happen in real time, and I'm just like, all right, cool. I see you, coach.
And I mean, he can take things from them. They can take things from him. So I think that's good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Timmy Devil says Liam didn't like Trevor saying he liked throwing to Jakobi on that Frank Frangie show. Liam said he needs to learn all of his wide receivers and route running tendencies. I didn't hear that one. I heard the interview he's referencing. I just don't recall that comment, I guess.
I've heard him talk about that. I don't know if it was the Frangie interview or somewhere else, but yeah, I mean, I think that Liam has said that Trevor needs to get, more chemistry with all the receivers. I also think he said that all the receivers need to be able to be where Trevor wants them to. Like, it needs to be symbiotic, right? It's not just Trevor needing to learn the receivers. It's not just the receivers needing to learn Trevor. It's on all of those guys. Just to get on the same page a little bit, just ratchet that chemistry up just a little bit.
No, I got you.
I mean, every year, right? Every year that you're together.
You can't be one guy. You lose that one guy to injury, and all of a sudden, your whole chemistry can't just fall off the cliff. You need to be able to have that with all these guys, and I think that's fair. But final question: we're gonna go out with this one. Who do you think gets extended next? I think that's quick and easy.
I'm going Strange.
You going Strange? I think it's kind of hard not to, unfortunately. There's too much up in the air as far as Parker's concerned. Honestly, like, I mean, heck, his freaking agent gonna be like, nah, I'm good. we're gonna chance this year out. I don't know where that's gonna land. So I'm with you. Probably Strange. We are in agreement. Virtual handshake. Let's get it out of here, man. Please let the people know where you can be found, bro.
Yeah, I mean, you can hit me up on Twitter at Jordan Delugo. You can go to your podcast platform of choice or YouTube and find GenJag. Got Duval daily, dropping 2 shows a day most of the time. You can also check out GenJag.com, pick up some new Duval gear if you're into that.
That's what I'm saying. Go ahead, pimp that. GenJag.com. That's where you get your GenJag gear. Actually, I'm wearing a Duval dive hoodie right now.
Hell yeah.
We're finally getting our store open. It took long enough. Lord Jesus help me. It took long enough, so we're finally getting there. Mook Boy says Strange will be our Gronk. Believe me. Hey man, I hope you're right. But you already know. If you're listening to us, please click that like button. If you're listening to us on the audio side, please rate and review us. Give us 5 out of 5. Treat this thing like it's a hotel survey. Somehow they tell us we get paid for it. I don't know how the algorithm works, but apparently that's how it is. So like us, subscribe, keep it locked in, bigcatcountry.com for any of you that read. And if you don't read, I don't care, man. Click the link. We're gonna start that. If you don't read, I don't care. Click the link on bigcatcountry.com. Help a brother out. And yeah, we'll have you guys covered on Friday's pod and another one on probably Sunday if I can find some time to go live. But hey man, appreciate you guys hanging out with us, talking some Duval football, and yeah, go Jazz, man. But have a good night.